Welcome to Stop the Noise, where small business specialists cut through the clutter to hone in on practical things small business owners can do to solve business challenges and move their business forward. In today's episode of Stop the Noise, I'm talking with Noreen Mosley from Educate to Elevate and Katie Patterson from Katie Patterson HR Consulting about how to attract and retain employees and an employee-strong market, whatever employee-strong means. You'll walk away with an executable checklist of things you can do right away to attract great new employees to your business. There is a lot of talk at the moment about the changing employment market and the whole concept of an employee-strong market. So what does that mean, and what's really happening out there? Noreen, Katie, do you want to tell me what you think? What's going on? What's this employee-strong thing mean?
Well, it is a employee market out there at the moment with so many vacancies that employers have a lot more choice than they would normally have in the past few years. It's a couple of reasons for that. Is that there's not much migration coming through because we've closed the borders as a result of the pandemic. And also there's not enough skilled workers within Australia at the moment for the roles that are advertised. So you'd be lucky with some particular environments, you'll be lucky to have 5 people apply for a role. So that means that employees are more on the front foot than the employers, and they expect a lot more nowadays, and that includes financial. And the flexibility, of course, and those other things that we all talk about that were nice to haves a few years ago are actually need to haves now from an employer market.
And does that apply across all sectors of the market? I mean, you talked about not enough skilled workers. Is that something that particularly applies at the skilled worker level, or does it apply also at the unskilled level worker, hospitality industry? Our unskilled labourers, is it applying there as well?
Absolutely, because if you think about it, Brenda, because we're not letting people into the country, so far the borders are closed, then we don't have as many university students who would, for example, hospitality, would take on those roles as part-time or casual roles in between their studies just to earn some income and keep themselves living. There's so many opportunities out there at the moment in hospitality, but there's not enough people to fill those vacancies.
It's absolutely across the board. So
yes.
wherever you're looking to employ, you need to be listening to this because it's going to impact you.
Absolutely.
So, and I guess that leads into my next question, and I probably half answered it for you, but why is it important for small businesses to understand all of this?
Well, I might just jump in there for a second and say, I think small business are like everything within the small business world, they're more exposed than any other business. And they're always, they suffered more during COVID. They suffer more, in general, because they will always be competing against bigger companies, bigger institutions, bigger budgets, that kind of thing. So they just have to lean into their strengths. So they really need to be super organized. They need to have super, onboarding programs, even in their small world of 4 or 5 people. Doesn't matter. You can still look exceptionally impressive to someone coming in, and you can actually, get people on the basis of your preparation, your professionalism, and your culture, because you clearly care about employees if you're so well organized. So I just think there's a lot that they can do to really actually, grab people in at a very sort of genetic level with the business. And I think, yes, they're up against money and other things, but I think also just post-COVID, there is a sense of people wanting more from their job as well. So money is important. Yes, there's no question about that. But there's also a sense of belonging, a sense of culture, a sense of minding, a sense of fun, and a sense of learning. So I think small businesses can compete if they think about it and plan like that.
I'd agree entirely. And the other thing, Nora, and I think to add on to what you were saying, is I really think that almost small businesses have a bit more of an advantage because they can move quicker and they can
That's true.
and they can put things in place a lot quicker than a bigger machine, so to speak,
Yeah.
and a bigger business. And I think that's where small businesses probably need to say, okay, well, I can be on the front foot here versus a bigger organization who says, oh, well, we've got to go through this and go through the hoops.
Yeah.
Whereas small businesses go, right, well, let's do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So advantages for small business. Yay.
Yay.
I'm listening to you and thinking, I can totally see that ability to be flexible, but I'm also thinking about the overworked, overstretched small business owner who needs staff and hasn't got them, and the challenges of putting all of those really cool things in place as well. So what you want to, and I'm throwing that question at you, what are your thoughts about how they deal with that?
Okay, do you want to go first, Tim?
Sure, Noreen. I actually think it's don't make it bigger than it needs to be. And it can be done on a really step-by-step basis. And yes, they may be short-staffed, and I would say most businesses at this present time are short-staffed. But I would say that take it step by step and allow someone else to take responsibility for it. The manager, if it's a small business, it might be the office person or the person that's going to be managing them on a day-to-day basis. Let them take the responsibility of actually setting up that program, and it doesn't need to be bigger than it needs to be. It can be very it can be structured, but it doesn't need to have lots of bells and whistles. To make it really effective.
And I guess that's what we're going to talk about when we dive into the checklist. And that's probably leading into the last of our introductory questions, which is about the importance of it being structured. So do you want to talk to that concept of structure? Perhaps, Katie, do you want to talk to the concept of structure? Or Noreen? Because
Noreen, where you go, Noreen?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, so it's the same really point as Katie's making. I mean, don't overcomplicate it. Do the important stuff. And I reckon, I don't know you, Katie, but I think particularly if you're a small business, the human touch cannot be underestimated, and it doesn't cost too much either.
Exactly.
And honestly, I think a checklist, literally an A4 page, start with that. And things like, when someone has accepted a job offer, that someone just 4 days later does something, sends an email through. It can be the one person, you're right, it could be the office admin person, sends an email through, just has it on the checklist, pops up, little bit of a call. I mean, some of the bigger organizations do it at a much more sophisticated level. There's a group called Onboarder, who actually, you would come across it. Yeah, they literally map this whole thing out, and from day 30 to day 1, the person gets touch points all the way through. But you can do a micro version of that as a small business, and it's just as effective. And I don't know if they told you, Katie, but they actually have gone into companies where there's been an absentee rate on day 1, having been recruited, of somewhere between 60 and 80%, that they've actually brought back to about 30%, purely because they've had touch points all along the way, right? So you can make a simpler version of that as a smaller business, but they even do things like, I think, like three days beforehand, they will get a knowledge nudge. They might get a little onboarding piece to do, and they'll be asked what's their favorite meal or what's their favorite cuisine. They'll get a video from the manager who'll be nudged as part of this whole program to actually do a little video of their work desk, wherever, and their employee partners or their colleagues, and send it to them saying, listen, we're looking forward to seeing you, Tom. Here's Mick, Joan, Mary, Tom, whatever, dying to see you. We have the Italian restaurant picked out for your lunch. Takes them 2 seconds to do that, send it off, makes all the difference. So a simpler little version of that can be done. And it's
that can be done, can't it, in a really small environment? You just get the whole team to go and have everybody wave.
You can take a small business owner a glass of wine or a cup of coffee, sit down, write down, say 8 to 10 different things, touch points that you can do after someone has signed on the dotted line, and just do all of those things before they start, and then have a good onboarding program, of course, as well. And then bang, and it doesn't cost anything.
No, and it doesn't cost, I was about to say, it doesn't cost a lot of money. It's just a little bit of time and imagination, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I guess is what we're about to dive into when we dive into this checklist, which we've got here. And it would be great if we brought something, if we actually had people go away, because I've got this checklist of what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 things. It would be great if we could actually build on this checklist. So when they go away, they've almost built the checklist you were talking about, Noreen. What do you think?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Okay, well, let's work to that. Okay.
That concludes the first part of this webinar. You can watch the full recording and download the checklist for this and all our Stop the Noise webinars in the BB4G Business Knowledge Bank Facebook group. It's free to join. Click the link below this video or go to www.facebook.com/groups/BB4G Knowledge Bank and click the Join Group button. The Stop the Noise webinar series is brought to you by the BB4G Business Advisors Alliance, a collective of small business service providers, specialists and advisors on a mission to ensure every small business owner has access to the knowledge, resources and support you need for your business to thrive in an ever-changing world.